Well, good morning, folks. It's Richard the Fishing Machine here. Today, I'm going to show y'all an amazing technique to catch big female bass, the females, which are the big ones, that's just now coming off a bed. And I'm going to show you what bait that I prefer and how I've been using for years in a lot of years of tournament fishing. I've won a lot of tournaments with this simple little bait, and I'm going to tell you it's so effective that it will always be effective. When these big largemouth females comes off bed, they're hungry, but they're real hungry, and they'll hit about anything that they can. In other words, they're going to eat anything they can because they're hungry. They've went a long time without eating, and they're going to hang around in the shallow water for a while to get enough energy to move off deeper if they're going to. But you know, we've learned on this channel that a lot of fish stay up shallow year long, and there's fish that goes out deep. But the fact of the matter is, to spawn, they all have to come into shallow water to do that. And that's not the only reason. Their air bladder has to acclimate a little bit at a time by them moving around and feeding, if they do plan on moving, if they are deep water fish, to move out deep. So they're going to stay around bluegill beds. They're going to stay close to the bank. They're going to stay in shallow water for a while. Now, how long? Well, it depends on the weather conditions. If the water temperature gets real hot pretty quick, well, then things will speed up. But if it don't, and here lately the temperature hasn't really went sky high like it normally does this time of year, they'll hang around in shallow water for a long time. But anyhow, right now these fish are close to the bank. They're accessible. And if you use the right technique, the one that we're fixing to show y'all, you can easily catch these big females. And I mean big ones too. Now, they're at their lightest right now as far as weight, but they're still big, strong, massive fish, and a lot of fun to catch, folks. I so happen to think that a trick worm, and especially when it's overcast, a black trick worm, specifically a black one, is very, very productive in a situation like this. High water conditions, slightly dingy water, overcast skies, and the fish is of course shallow, like I mentioned, because of the high water. And right now these fish are off bed. They're meandering around the banks. And the reason why they're so tied into the banks is because the water is up. We've had a lot of rain, and all of our lakes, rivers, creeks, well, they're flooded above, way above normal pool level. No difference right here. Now, these fish are feeding up right now. They really are. There he is, folks. Golly. This is a good one right here. This is good fish right here. I guarantee y'all that. Golly, he's peeling some drag off right here. Oh, let me see if I can get him out of that tree right there. I'm having to force him. There he is. I want y'all to look what a bass right here. Golly. Whew. That's what it's about right here. If we ever get him in, we'll... If we ever get him in right here, I'm excited right here. Let's get him. He's hooked real good right here. That is a big, big largemouth. Big fish. there he is. Golly, what a big fish. Whew. My. Alright, folks. I want y'all to look what a bass. That's a big female right there. That fish is a little bit skinny. Not too bad. The reason is because this fish is just laid out. And she's off bed and she's wanting to eat. Now what we're going to do right here is we're going to let this big gal go and we're going to talk about it. Woo. I'm talking about woo. Look here. Let's give her a release right there. And there she goes. Big fish right there. That's a good fish to start off with. And I am excited. That was on a black Zoom trick worm. Nothing special. I buy mine at Walmart. I'm using this bait weightless. Okay. I'm wanting to really move it real slow to entice, well, big bass like that one I just caught to bite it. So what I caught that fish on is a Johnny Mars 2000 size reel, and that's the first fish that I caught on this particular reel. Now I have 3 of them. They're nothing more but just a Daiwa reel. I have this reel loaded with 10-pound test frost braid, and my leader is 12-pound test P-line, monofilament P-line. Now usually I always use an 8 to a 10-pound test leader, whether it be fluorocarbon or monofilament, but the reason I'm using 12-pound test is because I'm wanting to use a spool up or partial spool. I'm wanting to get the benefit. And 12-pound test line is not too big for what we're doing right now. Okay, this is a uni knot that I've tied here. My connection, which is right there, is a double uni knot. So I'm uni knotting it today. 2/0, now this is very important, 2/0 Gamakatsu hook. Okay, now the reason why I'm using a 2/0 instead of a 3 or 4/0 is because I'm wanting as light a hook as I possibly can get, so that when I make a cast, the bait will lay flat and will go to the bottom just like that. Level. In a level position. That looks real natural. And that's what happens with a trick worm. When you make a cast and you let the bait fall, it goes down like this. It moves like this as it's falling. Shimmies, and that's what makes it so dangerous. The way I have this bait rigged up is I have it in the head, not a 1/4 of an inch, but a 1/2 inch. Okay, because there's a lot of silt here in this area here, so I don't want the knot to be exposed right here, or the eyelet, so it'll collect it. Okay, and the next thing is I've punched that hook point through there, and then I'm just going to text pose it like that, skin hook it, and that's all I'm doing. Now the water depth is probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 feet of water right here. It's not very deep at all, and I caught that fish right there. Okay, so what I'm going to do, like I said, is let that bait fall on a free line as it's falling, and that's what it does. It shimmies down when you have it rigged weightless like this with a 2/0 hook. I'm watching for that line to thump. It's like snapping your finger. That would be the bite. But that fish actually hit it real close to the bottom, of course. I was just working it back. I'm just picking it up and letting the bait fall back. Picking it up, letting the bait fall back. Okay, about a foot at a time. And that is deadly. That is a deadly tactic right now. Females is off a bed, but they're still hanging around this shallow water, feeding up, probably on bluegill, shad, but that's all I'm doing. See, it's on the bottom right now. I'm just picking it up, letting it fall back. And that's it. That's all you have to do. And let it just sit there a little bit. This is almost, but not quite, like stitching a bait back. Slow is the key. These fish, they're wanting to feed, but now remember, they're kindly tired. So they need a slow bait right now. They're tired, they're wore out, these big females. They just want to feed. But they want to target a smaller bait. I mean a slower bait, not a smaller bait. Slower bait. Hey, look here, look here. Look. There's a bass right out in front of us. He was chasing. Let's make a cast to him. Oh, if he sees that worm, he's going to catch it on the way down. We'll see if we can get him to hit. He'll stay right here in this area. That looked like a big fish too. As shallow as this is, I may have to, if I hook him, I may have to go in and get him. But if I do, that's fine. Doggone, that was a good one. Let's make a long cast out there. We'll let it hit the bottom, but I'm going to tell you, I'm going to watch this line. As that bait's falling, I'm going to watch it. If it twitches, we're going to set the hook. Because like I said, a lot of these fish are suspended right now. That's why this bait right here is so effective for big bass. There he is. There he is, folks. Okay. That ain't the fish that we seen. But it's the bass. I'm having to horse him. There's a big fish out there. Of course, this one ain't bad, I guarantee you that. Get out from under there. What's that fish on? Y'all excuse me, I had to horse him out of there. I need a little heavier tackle. That is a good fish right there. Look here. Golly, that's a good fish right there. About a 2.5 pounder. That fish give me a fit. I like this rod. I didn't mention to y'all what kind of rod this is, but I will. I doggone sure will. And it's a 2-piece rod. And y'all know how I'm not a real big fan on 2-piece rods, but let's talk about this rod. You might want to buy you one. Hey man, you might want to buy you one. I bought it at Wallace World. That's a good fish right there. Probably about 2.5 pounds or maybe a little better. But let's go ahead and let it go. But I'm going to tell you, there's some big fish. There's a big fish out there. I'm not trying to weigh the fish, but it had to probably be about like the one I just caught a while ago, 6 or 7 pounds. Just a tremendously big fish. But I'm going to fish around in here a little bit longer. We'll see if we can catch him, but let's let this one go. But now, don't make no mistake about it. The reason why I'm doing a lot of bank videos this spring is I'm showing y'all, if you're just now starting to fish, you can catch some good fish off the bank if you'll use the right techniques. And this so happens to be a great technique, great bait. Just let him go. There he goes. He's heading on out there. Okay, that's what we want right there. I like to catch them and release them just as quick as I possibly can. But this is a good area right here. It's kind of a little flat, and I know the water drops off out there a little bit. And so what had happened, that old big fish run a bluegill or a shad up here into this shallower water. Now, whether he's still there or not, I don't know. I don't have any idea. But I am fishing from the bank. So I'm going to be patient and make a lot of casts right here. I'm going to try to get that big son of a gun to bite. If he does, folks, I'm going to have to track down through here and get about where that log is to be able to land a fish of that size. I'm not going to be able to do it no other way. That little fish right there was probably 2.5 pounds. Give me a problem. That's how strong they are. Okay, let's see what we can do. Oh. I told y'all I'd show you this rod. This is a 6.5 foot medium action lightning rod. Now, I like lightning rods. I've used them for years and years, but I bought this one at Walmart. Bought the reel at Bass Pro Shop, but I bought the rod at Walmart. I think it was for $56. Now, it is a 2-piece rod, but you talking about light in your hand, and it's got just the right strength, medium action for what we're doing right here. I like a medium action rod for this way of fishing right here. I lost a perfect rod for this application right here. It was a Gander Mountain 6.5 foot medium action rod. This one feels just about the same as that rod. Just about the same, folks. Matter of fact, it could be just a tad lighter. And the only difference was that Gander Mountain rod was a 1-piece. This is a 2-piece. But you can't tell it. It's super sensitive. There's rods out there, if you'll look for them, that you don't have to pay $250, $300 for. They are, and they feel just as good, if not better, than those expensive rods like that. But let's mess around with it right here. We might get that old big fish to bite if she's still here. And the way I'm going to approach this is by, like I always say, being patient. Patience is the key. There he is. Oh my goodness. This is a big fish right here, folks. Okay. This is a big one right here. That's the fish that I seen. Okay. Oh, I'm going to have to get my darn feet wet. There ain't no doubt about it. Okay, let's just do what we got to do. There's no way I can land that fish, big as he is, with this 10-pound line. I knew we could get her to bite. I knew what I seen. I've been doing this for a long time. Long time. Come on up, gal. Okay. Let's bring her right around through here. Y'all can see what a time I'm having right here. Ooh, these fish are strong. Okay, come on up here. Golly, what a bass. Okay, that's the one right there. And that's a female. See her tail? How it's worn. And I went straight on in with these Skechers. Got some socks on. Y'all can see down there. I didn't want to do that, but I wanted to catch this fish for y'all. All right, folks. There's another big old fish right there. When I set the steel to that fish, I knew it was a good one. I knew that fish was there. I knew she wasn't going to leave, or probably wouldn't leave. And I kept on, and look at there. We got her. And that's the sport of fishing. Okay. Be persistent. That's a big word. It's an energy burst. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Alright. Come on, gal. There she goes. Whatever it takes is what we're going to do. Because fishing is a sport. Whoa. It's second to none. Hey, man, it's second to none. Let's keep working around this tree right here, folks. It's a big tree. Now, there could be several fish. And that tree, like I said, or if I did, it goes way out yonder way. There could be several fish relating to it. Little bitty movements. Okay. What does that do? It's simple. It makes the fish believe on an instinctive level that they have, okay, that it's an easy meal. And it's just that simple. That's exactly what it does, okay. There he is. Golly. Golly, folks. I'm up here on this rock, and I got a big old fish right here. Oh, my goodness, let's hold him. Oh, golly, I had to do that. I didn't have no choice right there. I didn't have no choice right there. I tell you, it's a big fish. It's a big fish day today. There ain't no doubt about it. Don't think that 10-pound braid ain't strong. It is. I mean, there's been several times where I've shown how strong it is. My goodness. That's a good bass. My feet was already wet, so I just went ahead and parked right here on this rock right here so I could get a different angle on these fish. But it's just a big fish day. That's just all there are to it. That's all I can say about it. Just a big fish day. But if you notice, most of them are kind of lean, and you can see where the tail's worn right there. She just come off a bed. So I'm fishing a pattern. This is a shallow water pattern that works for these big females. No doubt. There's another one. Another old big fish, folks. Big female. Spawned out. Okay. You know, I'm going to tell y'all, I'm being super, super patient. And that's what it takes. If you're fishing from a bank, you're going to have to be very patient, and you're going to have to be willing to work. And that's what's going on. I'm working for these fish, slow and methodically, getting bit every once in a while. And that is the sport of fishing. Nothing comes easy in life. It just don't. And that includes catching fish. Oftentimes they can be aggravating, but if there's a will, there's a way to catch them. Okay, and what my will is right now is fishing slow and methodically. Let's let him go. Big fish right there. Come on, gal, you wasn't out of the water that long. There she goes. She's just tired. I don't like horsing fish, but in some situations, like that, you have to. You don't have any choice, because you're either going to land that fish or you're not. Anytime you're throwing over thick cover like that, you're going to have to horse them out. That's just all they are to it. That's the name of the game. And sometimes you lose. And, well, Sometimes you win. I'm nuts. I'm absolutely nuts. Get out of here. Oh my goodness. A wasp got up under my hoodie, I think. I hope he got out of there. If he didn't, he's going to get me on the neck. Whew. See how straight that is? That's how I go about it. Now what I'm doing right here, let me do this again. It's got an offset right here. This is a EWG, 2/0 EWG, folks. But I'm wanting it to come through cover, which they are a little grass out there, without hanging. So I'm going to, instead of punching right in the middle of it, I'm going to exaggerate on the other side of the worm just a little bit. So when we go through that point, watch this. It will hide this offset in the worm. Okay, see that? You don't have that offset sticking out now, grabbing stuff. Now I'm just going to gauge it. See, right here is my entry point, and then go straight in. Not at an angle, but straight up and out. Now look how straight that is. And just skin hook it, the point, barely. Now you got a good situation. It don't take much of a hook set to set the hook like that. You know, folks, I'm going to be extremely honest about this. There's two baits, two of my favorite baits, and I use them a lot on this channel, is a trick worm and a Senko. Those two baits, folks, will always catch fish. And those two baits are among the most effective artificials that's ever been invented, in my opinion. A lot of the pros that I know are still using those baits. They don't talk about them a whole lot, but they are such a good bait. There's a lot of fish that's caught on those two baits. I want to say God bless each and every one of y'all. Thank y'all for everything y'all do. Hey, woo, doggone it. Hey, woo, woo. I'm talking about woo. Hey, man, woo. And remember, go fishing when you can, because it's good.